I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this regular board meeting order. Roll call shows all present except for Kelly, who was excused. No agenda changes tonight that I'm aware of. And we have consent agenda. Have the October 16th, 2018 committee of the whole minute. October 18th, 2018 regular board meeting minutes. License permits, operator's license, Sonia L. Basaki. Assume that's already through the police department approved.
Yes.
And presentation of accounts and other claims against the village.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. We have no public hearing, and it doesn't look like we have any pre-registered citizens. And we move down to new business. Set public hearing date for 2019 budget. What kind of date are we looking for?
I think we're set to go on November 15th. So, I mean, all points lead, that was the schedule that we set out in the beginning of the budgeting process. Aside from some unfinished wage resolution that we're hoping to take care of tonight, I think we're set. All possible notifications have been published, so we should be fine for November 15th.
At the regular board meeting, or?
Yeah, okay, we can do that. Unless more discussion ensues.
Do we need a motion on that, or just a consensus for it?
I can make a motion. I'll make a motion to set the public hearing date for the 2019 budget for November 15th at 6:30 during the regular board meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Discussion and approval of village assessment services contract for 2019.
Excuse me, there was a handout, just a single piece of paper here, that went through the options that were presented to us. Per your wishes, anything larger than $5,000 for a bid. We sent out the Bomar appraisal, which was $5,300. For another second bid, which came back from Accurate Appraisal for $6,500. That was a single year estimate for assessment services being 2019. At that time, Accurate came back with a multiple year option, which they would call their blended pay schedule. Discussed it further with the gentleman representing Accurate, and what it is it allows the village to overpay on an annual basis to offset the large payment for village reassessment services. They quoted it at $9,500 per year for the next 4 years, totaling $38,000. I reached back out to Bomar Assessment Services, who's been the assessor for the village for some time. They gave me an estimate of $8,500 per year, totaling $34,000, stating that it was not necessary for 2019, that they would like to see this start in 2020. That being said, because on the notes here, the village had their last full reassessment in 2015. They'd like to do it in 2021. If it would be necessary at that time, we could start the billing process for that next year. So if approved, we would use the same assessment services, being the cheaper of the two options, and start payments $8,500 next year. They would then do the reassessment in 2021, and we'd be able to continue the $8,500 pay cycle for the next 4 years to balance out the payments. And then a side note, going through funds that we have in reserve, the village already has $10,000 set aside for reassessment services that we'd be able to move into next year's budget to already pay for year one of the assessment.
So this is a 5-year agreement?
It would be a 4-year starting next year. We would not be under the blended agreement until next year.
So they would reassess in 2020, 5 years after The last reassessment?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2021.
Or 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'd be paying in 2020 for the first year of the blend. 2021 would be the second year's blend with the reassessment. And then 2022 and 2023 would be the completion of that, and then we'd start over in 2024 if we so choose to renew the contract.
So we're paying 4 years?
Correct.
Okay. So we have no expense for 19?
19 would be $5,300.
Oh, I see, okay.
Or if elected to, appraised accurate was $6,500.
Yeah.
When I had him quoted, essentially what I did is I took the description of services and I covered up the price. We had a copy, so he quoted it apples for apples. So it was exactly the services that Bomar were going to represent to the village is what Accurate had to work with. So the quote came back $1,200 higher.
So you want a motion from us tonight?
Yes.
So I'll make the motion that we move forward with the Bomar appraisal for the quoted blended services or schedules, not to exceed $34,000. Is that correct?
Actually, I think we'd be only approving the $5,300 payment for 2019.
In other words, we
So-
come back for the 4-year next year.
Yes. It was a late estimate for 20. They didn't feel like they could get when this started, they didn't feel that they would have an actual cost. So what he suggested is pay the $5,300 in year one, and then before we renew the contract for 2020, we will have that blended pay schedule. So we also have the $5,300 already budgeted for the 2019 schedule. So we would just need a motion to approve the $5,300 one-year contract with Global Reference.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you.
Discussion towards relocation of funds to facade program.
Another one of your handouts. It starts with an email to the Hortonville administrator. I'm going to call this good news. And what you're viewing is a memo from David Polish, who's the Bureau Director for the Department of Administration. There's been quite a bit of confusion on this. This goes back to loans that started a long time ago for rehab. Nathan and I have been working on this quite a bit. So you have the original ADF, right?
WDF.
WDF. So you have the original WDF grant, which the village partook in. That program went away. So in essence, that program was a grant back to the 70s where they received $400,000 for revitalization grants. Those funds were used, but also worked themselves down to next to nothing. In recent time, they've been getting paid back. So page 2, what you see is actually the current balance that is in a housing rehabilitation fund to the tune of $101,977. That has been a revolving account, and what is being paid back to that are these initial WDA grants. We have been filing this as community development block grants and been doing a spreadsheet and reporting that these are CBDG funds, and in essence, they're not. This goes back. So what the CBDG fund has done is they started on a closure program to recapture these funds. So any of the municipalities that have remaining funds that were not spent would have to refund them back to the state. We don't qualify. I asked and I solicited this gentleman's with the Department of Administration. I wanted his opinion. He emailed back saying that we are off the radar. According to them, these funds don't exist with Hortonville. I also confirmed this with Lynn when I spoke to her this week. She's been filing the paperwork to report on this and has been constantly falling off the radar. So to us, it seems like it's been just a miscommunication of where these funds belong. And we were told to spend them accordingly. With that being said, we feel that now that the last two programs that we've lended funds for the facade program, the downtown revitalization program, we've used all of the funds in that fund. It's empty. I'm going to report to you my administrator's report. We now have another business that's looking for those funds, so I would like to take some money from that fund and move it into the downtown rehabilitation fund and keep that program moving forward because it's only going to benefit the village. And then also allocate, and I'll speak to this later also, I'd like to reestablish the residential rehabilitation fund and use these funds in a means that we can possibly make revenue off of it through small loans to village members. And I'm looking for your blessing to not only move funds into the commercial rehabilitation facade program, but then also explore the opportunity to build a revenue source for the village.
The only problem with that, if I may speak, is that the facade program, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's recorded, but I think you're given interest-free loans for a period of, I want to say 4 years?
Forever.
Huh?
No.
Till then, my in-laws have one actually, which I don't know if I should divulge it, but, so that's why I know about this. When their home gets sold,
I'm
then
talking
they pay
business.
that.
Different.
Business.
This is the facade
Oh,
loan.
okay.
Okay, so we took advantage of this program when Patrick was here, and I want to say the loan is, you have to, of course, prove the value of the loan, but anyway, the substantiating documents on what you spent. But I think the first 4 years is interest-free. Then I think it's like 1%. In year 5, you know, somebody's gonna,
Nate would have it.
Nate would have it.
Nathan's our expert.
Okay, so with that in mind, and you want to reestablish the residential side, we might have an issue there, only because I would think they would expect the same kind of value. You know, why should a business get interest-free money for a period of 4 years? So that might create a situation, might create a problem.
Yeah, but the residential one, at least what we have now, I believe is interest-free for as long as you own the home.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
Okay, so from a business aspect, whether it's...
So when you pass away or sell the home.
I hear you. Okay. So you want to extend that program?
I would like to extend the program, but I would like to also look at other ways if we had to reevaluate the procedure, because some of the municipalities I've worked for or done work for in the past have development authorities, and they are using this as a means of revenue source. That there is, in the world we live in now, any way we can make a revenue for the villages, we have to explore that opportunity. So that's where I want permission to move funds into the facade program, but then also explore potential revenue sources for the village.
And how much of this were you thinking of moving into the facade program?
I would have to do the math, but in a true sense, knowing that we do have a repayment to the tune of $8,000 annually that'll come for the next 4 years. It's from what's the name of Red and Dave's? Red and Dave's. I think if we took $50,000 and made that available with the repayment and the structure, I think how we could turn it every 2 or 3 years with interest-bearing notes, that $50,000 could be available every year. In 3 years, it would almost fill itself up again. So by the time you started receiving your payments back, you should almost reestablish your loan. I would have to do the math and figure on it, see that we could, so we never have to fund this. It should revolve itself, and we always be using the same money and looping the same money on a 3 or 4 year term. So that would be the goal. The only way you lose funds is if people would default on it. Correct.
So the original grant, when it came, were there restrictions prohibiting us from any kind of revenue source? I guess that's my,
It would date itself, Julie, to
It would date itself?
It would date itself in the 70s.
okay.
So.
I just want to make sure that we're not gonna.
And before we,
Okay.
that'd be almost a legal question for Bob, that we would have to clear this and make sure that these funds are appropriated. And to me, this email is almost like our get out of jail free card.
I'd like to see some projections, some numbers.
That's the permission I'm asking.
We'll dig into the history just a little, just to make sure we're not,
I will go on record in saying I'm pro-development, and with my background, it's night and day. some of the municipalities that I've worked with, it's night and day. When you invest in your community, it turns. Not saying we're in a bad spot, it's for the benefit of the whole community as everything improves here.
I'm all for opportunities to make some money instead of handing it out.
Keeping those funds in the village.
Yeah.
To regenerate, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so move forward.
We need a motion to allow David to pass or relocate the funds to the facade program.
You want to do that now, or do you just want to?
I think we should, I think we're gonna wait.
Yeah.
What it says in the administrator's report is there's a gentleman who bought a studio lounge. He's looking for funds to potentially redo the facade on the building. He's a farmer's insurance agent, and his wife is a beautician, so they're thinking about a split storefront with improvements. And then they would also be pulling the liquor license, to which Carl and I also discussed that might be another benefit to the marketing of the village, where if we had a liquor license available, we might be able to attract an eating establishment again with, if we need a liquor license moving forward.
I'm not against a beauty parlor with a bar.
I can't comment on that because I haven't been in a beauty parlor in years.
No. Some of us don't need it, do we?
That's just, anyway, wasteful spending.
So this is pretty much for future discussion?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Just give you a head nod that, yes, please explore this. Yeah.
Yes. If the developments come quicker with he has purchased the building, so if they would come quicker with the facade restoration, I will definitely make a motion that we move on it faster. So I don't think we need
Anything else on this?
No, it's just, like I said, I think we came into a gift here, and I think we should use it appropriately.
Totally.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we'll go on to discussion in regards to remaining 2018 police expenditures. Chief?
So while reviewing the budget for 2018, we stumbled across almost 60,000, 66,000 I think was the number, due to the lack of a chief and all the other things that go with it. However, there's some equipment in dire need at the police department, so we're looking to see if we can make some purchases. So I handed out a packet here, and I'll go through the packet and just kind of explain things. So the first one that you see is going to be Axon. It's a front and back. The first one, it's $9,480. These are for 7 tasers. On the back side, it's $24,080, and these are for a total of 9 body cameras. These body cameras that we have are becoming extinct. It costs $899 to replace each one of them. Once, like I have the old one, so once it stops working, we automatically have to fork out $899. With this plan here, Taser has come out, Axon it's called now, it's one company, they own both of them. They put everything on a cloud, that way the DA's office can access right from the cloud to get the evidence that they need. It also prevents us from having to buy a server, because we're looking at the potential of having to buy a server, because the body cameras are consuming so much server space, because you're recording, I mean, if you record a traffic stop that turns into an OWI, which is operating while intoxicated, you potentially could be 7 hours into, into video footage on that server. So you start adding those up and everything else, and it's consuming. So with this new program that Axon's got, it's a very neat program. It's I think a lot of people are taking the incentive to take it and to use it, because what they do is that 2.5 years, they replace all your body cameras and your tasers. And then at 5 years, they replace all your body cameras and tasers. So it's a 5-year contract is basically what you're doing. And the $8,804 is for the first year. And that's just to get all the hardware and the software and everything all up to where we need to have it so that we can use this and use the cloud and everything else. Then after that, then you can see that it's just $3,782, which is what we put in the budget, because we thought that's what we were gonna have to use to fund the new tasers and body cameras each and every year for probably forever. And then the tasers in 2020, the ones that we currently carry, unfortunately, I don't carry one because we don't have enough of them in the department. So if it comes to a situation where I need a taser, I don't have one. But they're basically becoming obsolete. We can't update them anymore after 2020. So it's a piece of equipment that's, has to be replaced. They're anywhere from $1,600 to $1,800 per taser. So they're quite costly. So we're looking to see if we can get the approval to go ahead and hop on board with this new program that they have. A lot of departments are doing it. Seymour just switched over to all of them. And they're liking how the program's downloading on the computers and everything else, and how easy it is. They can go onto a traffic stop and they can download the information, the traffic stop, onto their cell phone, and then they can download it to the PD from there. Pretty cool thing. Our computers in our office, in 2014, we brought 3 of them over from the old building. Each officer's got like its own little cubicle. Each officer's computers were brought from Sean's home. So we're using computers from his home to do reports and everything else. Some of the computers are getting really old. They'll shut down in the middle of the day. Even mine, but it doesn't do it so often. I can be typing on something, typing a report, and all of a sudden it just turns through and shuts down on me. So we're looking at replacing one computer would be $905, and then we have the minus the $35 for this drive that we can kind of move throughout the building. So then we're looking at 2 computers for $870. Julie's computer is running so extremely slow that she can't even do her work because it's just, it says, they're telling me it's basically running on a core. I'm not a computer person, so, but they're thinking that she should have a dual core or triple core in order to it work. And then the SRO, which is Brian's computer, they don't give him a computer. We bring in a computer. His computer is blue half the time, can't get it up and going. He's got to go out to his squad car and write a report. Right now, we pulled his computer out of his squad car and he brings it in and out every day. So for $625. Now these computers here, that's what you see here from Corporate Network. Some of these are recertified. They're half price right now, so we get a really decent price on replacing all the computers. And I think then we would be set for a while. We need 1 monitor for the video room. We have 2 rooms where we can actually, when we go in, we can flip a switch up and it automatically starts recording. So like when we had APD over here for that Nash Street incident that we had with the search warrant, APD comes in, we can just flip up the switch, it starts recording, records it to a DVR, and then from the DVR we end up picking up, but we can't see the screen, so we need to have a new monitor for $100. So we're going to get that one replaced. 20-hour block for the computers. In August 11th of 2016, we bought a 20-hour block. So that's this form here. So the more time that we buy, it's cheaper. So at the standard rate of $140 for having corporate network come in and work on our computers, we bought a 20-hour block, and it only cost $130. So the more blocks, the more time that you buy, it kind of drops down. These don't, it's not like you have to use it by the end of the year. We currently have 5 hours left since we purchased in 2016, so we're just running low, but it's $2,600. We're looking at to buy a 20-hour block, which should last us another year, year and a half. We purchased 30 magazines. Unfortunately, while doing inventory of the police department, we found out that each AR-15, which is the rifle, in each one of the squads only had 1 magazine with it, so that meant we had 25 rounds and we're out. So we purchased 30 more magazines, but however, we need to fill those 30 magazines with ammo. We don't have any backup ammo. I think there's a half a box of 9, 1 box of 40. There's no 45. There's no target ammo that's in that safe. They just haven't been purchasing ammo lately. So we're looking to restock that. So that's where I come up with the $1,420. What that'll do is that'll probably get us through for the next 2 years. Once we purchase that 223 ammo for $674, I mean, you don't use that, it stays there. We just purchase practice ammo to practice with the AR-15s. The 4 rifles that we currently have in the squad car, so that's going to be this one here. We have the 4 rifles in the squad cars. They're just plain Jane rifles. We're looking at updating some of the different things. There's a flip-up sights that you can be replacing. 2 of them don't have scopes on them, so we're looking at putting some scopes on them. They have the front handle grip that you can hang on to instead of hanging on to the cold barrel or the hot barrel. So there's one of those. The sling is a one-size-fits-all, so you basically have to get out and put it on you, make sure it fits you before you can actually use the sling. So we looked at new rifle pricing and stuff like that. AR-15s just don't go out of, I mean, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you buy a brand new one or if you buy an older one. The only thing with the new rifle is they're talking about it's a 11-inch barrel versus a 16-inch barrel. They talk about those when you're going into room clearing situations that they're shorter, but then a lot of times you want to put a silencer on them. So once you put the silencer on it, now you're back up to 16, so it didn't make sense to do it in my eyes. So, and then the last one would be the automotive computer. This is where we would go in and we would look at each one of the vehicles and make sure that each one of the vehicles is wired correctly, because with the Charger, we found that it wasn't wired correctly. Could have shorted, could have been fire, it wasn't working properly. We would turn on the windshield wiper, or turn on the radio and the windshield wipers would go, and so we just want to run through and make sure that everything is correct in there. Lockout tools are also on this sheet here with the orange. We have 2 sets of lockout tools. I mean, they're relatively cheap. But with the sets, the rod is supposed to go like this. Well, our rods are like this. So the effective way to get into a vehicle without damaging it is to have a nice straight tool. So you can just go right in and you can just punch the button and open comes the door. So with the VEST grant, we have we can do that probably in 2019, just for the fact that we'll have the money in that budget, so I'm not really worried about that until next year. But we should, however, look at helmets to have them equipped in the squad cars, just for the fact that if we do get into an active shooter situation, right now we have no helmets, we have no bags, we have very little ammo, so we're really not prepared for that situation, and I think that we need to get up to speed and get prepared for that, just for officer safety. making sure that they're going home every night.
May I add comment? You have a quite extensive laundry list here. Can you prioritize some of this? I mean, you've got a lot of stuff here that you want to buy. The other question I had is, I was involved with some donations 2 or 3 years ago to buy 2 rifles for 2 squads that weren't equipped. Are you talking about trading those in or just upgrading?
We just want to upgrade them.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we're gonna keep them. We have the 2 scopes, so we'd like to put 2 more scopes on the other ones.
The ones that you have scopes on are the ones I think that the previous,
Those are cheap scopes. That's actually not a bad price for outfitting for quality.
yeah, oh, and that's okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay, yeah, I'm okay with the upgrades. But there's a lot of stuff on here. I mean, if I look through this, you've got quite a bit of stuff, and this is a little confusing to me. It doesn't itemize what these are. What are these charges for again?
Well, it starts out, if we go on the one that has a total for $24,080, okay?
Right.
So the first year installment, which would be this year, okay?
I'm okay with the installments, what's this for?
Well, basically what it breaks it down is the $8,804 and the $108 is for this year. And then next year, yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yep, for the body
What
cameras.
product?
Yep, that's body cameras. And then the backside is gonna be the tasers. So this one's gonna be for 7 tasers and 9 body cameras.
Got that. So can you get us a list and prioritize some of this, Chris? I'd like to see that. What's the total of all this?
$30,100.
The whole package, all this stuff?
Yep.
And you have how much?
60.
Wasn't there surplus?
60,000.
How much?
66,000.
Yeah.
There's surplus in the budget though, right?
It was actually at
Yeah.
the advise, we advised Chris to go ahead and price this because of the surplus, knowing that this stuff has not been purchased for a long time, some of it years. And then this is the year to do it because, and then the other thing Chris didn't put in is that the revolving charges are already built into the budget for next year as well. So any
Right.
charge that will be moving forward is
Yeah.
already built into the 2019.
Right, the only charge we would have in 2019 would be the $3,792, because that's going to be year 2, so that'll be consecutive for year 2, 3, 4, 5,
Right.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then on the backside, it's going to be $1,960, and I can put that into my budget,
Okay.
because I'll be stocked up with everything that I pretty much need.
Okay, so at the end of the day, what are you left with? What budget surplus would you have? Roughly 36,000?
36,
And that would be pushed into
37.
next year? Answers my questions.
I have a hard time, I get where you're going, Peter, but I guess prioritizing like what's more important, ballistic
Well,
helmets, I mean,
that's
that's
what I'm
hard. I'm like,
Okay.
we're over
I need ammo,
my,
I need computers.
she has
I
a
need-
surplus, I just feel like,
I had to get through that.
okay,
So you have to understand that where I'm coming from is, I want to know what the costs are. I'm always interested in cost. I want to know that, okay? So at the end of the day, you've got 36,000 of extra monies that could be pushed into next year. Okay. All right. So what do you need from us tonight? A motion to move forward with all of your outlined expenditures?
Yes,
So moved.
I'll second that.
thank you.
I think we'll take a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
you've got your,
Good job. Thanks for all the details.
Yeah.
Very good job.
Need it.
Thank you for the details.
Nice report, nice report.
any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? Hearing none, we'll go on to report of village officials, administrator.
You should have received a copy. I want to apologize for length because it's been a busy 2 weeks. So, 2019 budgeting and revisions continue to be our top priority. I will give kudos to Carl. He's kind of leading the charge. He's been working extensively on the utility budget side now. Also leading with the wage and benefit report. So we're going to discuss that a little later. That's completely other than with the discussions for Chief later on tonight. I also want to thank Greg Hall and the Fox West Academy. Al and I, we attempted to do a lake cleanup last week Saturday, and with a 30-mile-an-hour wind and eventually a very strong snowstorm, we decided it would be best interest not to go in canoes and kayaks and try to clean the lake. So they did that yesterday, or I'm sorry, last week Friday, to the tune of 10 bags of garbage that they took out. He said there was some visible other garbage, but lots of muck and mud that kept them out of it. So I did extend a thank you for their efforts from the village as well. Trick or Treat Fest this past Sunday, approximately 225 kids partook in the event. I will give kudos to Lisa. Also, she does a fantastic job organizing and taking care of it and soliciting for the donations. Channel 5 was there, so I was put on the spot, and I don't know if anybody saw it, but Sunday night at 10 o'clock, my mug was on the news, and I had to do a historical background of the event. So also thank you to Lisa for filling me in on how long this has been going on and what it all entailed. Nathan and his wife were also out. Chris was there for the day. Approximately 225 kids took. It was a nice crowd. I don't think there was any issues, right, at all? Nothing throughout the village. Lisa reported that the village also paid $250 for the gold coins they handed out. I don't have that on here, but the village's cost this year was $440. That includes the $250 worth of coins. So they did well with donations. I already have it benchmarked, a couple ideas that I would like to help her with next year. That's something that I did a lot with my chamber affiliations. I think we can drive those donations even bigger for next year. However, we may need to address the times. I asked for the history. We did receive quite a few complaints about darkness on Sunday. And basically the premise is if you move it to Sunday, it's for a reason. The kids should be home before it gets dark out. So that's something we may want to discuss moving forward. Like I said, it was decided upon before my tenure, so we may need to address that. However, people were happy that it was post-Packer game, so we hear pros and cons, but it's something we may need to look at next year.
I don't know if it was the weather, but the year before I went through 1,000 pieces of candy in 45 minutes. This year we only had 300 pieces and it lasted an hour.
Oh,
Really? Well, there was a lot fewer kids that came down through.
Okay. When I was in town, it was busy. There were kids everywhere.
Yeah, but there were fewer kids down in by us.
Continuing on, something that we took care of, just some housekeeping. The AT&T phone contract was renewed this past week. It had expired in 2015, and we were on basically a renewal-only basis. I was contacted. She said there would be significant changes unless we reviewed it and recontracted, which we did. I signed off on it with only a $3 monthly increase. That's good for another year. I made sure that we had notification notices that when it renews, we need to be notified rather than just the annual renewal. At the recommendation of Chief, I was given a contract for the Wolf River Vet Clinic in New London. She had made a recommendation that we look into the Fox Valley Humane Society. I reached out to them. The contract hasn't been signed and hasn't been agreed upon yet, but I'm waiting on a contract from the Fox Valley Humane Society which would be our go-to for any strays in the village. She did make me aware that there is a revenue source that we could potentially participate in. Allegheny County has a revenue sharing program, so it would be a means for us. The way it works is the pool is split amongst the municipalities that participate in it, because any strays that are left over that aren't claimed actually get purchased from participating families, and that money then is split up amongst the participating municipalities. So it could offset our costs or actually be a revenue source. So again, it might be in our best interest to go down that avenue. Waiting on the contract. Also, the costs are a third of the private clinic. So in the essence, when they have to house the stray animals or even put them down, it would be about a third of what we pay currently. As I spoke earlier, Andrew Moss is the farmer's insurance agent. We had a nice discussion about his potential facade upgrades to the studio lounge. Going to be looking for possible funds moving forward. He was going to discuss it him and his wife are both tenants in Appleton. So his mortgage on the building is about half of what they currently pay for rent in the Fox Valley in Appleton. So he's also a Hortonville resident, so he's looking forward to moving potentially 2 new businesses to the downtown. Carl and I were supposed to meet with the highway commissioner last week. He got stuck behind the accident on Manley Road in JJ, so he didn't make our meeting. We had a phone discussion. We discussed the highway TT transfer of jurisdiction. And I'll skip down a little bit. I also met with Bob Lipke from Hortonia today. It's pretty much a done deal. Nobody's going to resist in the transfer of the jurisdiction, Hortonia or Hortonville. So it would be, what the county's looking to do is push the rights of that county trunk TT from basically Nash Street to county trunk T, and it would be the responsibility then of the municipal rather than the county, correct?
Yeah.
But upon that agreement, they would also resurface that after they vacated. So it's just a technicality move that they're doing in presence or in belief that Highway 15 will be developed. So I don't know if you want to add any more to that.
Yeah, there's still no official word on 15, so we assume that it's eventually going to go forward sooner or later.
During that meeting, you said that 2 of the board members for Hortonia were okay with it being Nye Street all the way out,
Correct.
rather than
Correct.
fighting over the naming.
Because I know that was the biggest discussion the last meeting we had,
Yeah.
was Ninth
No,
Street.
we're the last Nye Street, Nye resident.
Yeah. That was a big
That might help with, there's some people that are requesting the speed limit be lowered out that direction
Yeah.
towards Hortonia, so.
Okay, well, staying right in that area, the Badune property, which is the Clegg farmland, so this would be opposite the road, this would be the north side of TT. I have several discussions with that family at the direction of Al. Actually, all 8 members of the family received a letter yesterday. I penned a letter soliciting their participation in potential annexation to the village. I spoke with the Badune representative of the real estate, and basically what I told him, we need to view this as a marketing tool for a few reasons. One, with the ordinance that Hortonia has, they wouldn't allow that type of development in Hortonia anyway, so it would be a benefit to annex to the village of Hortonville. Secondly, we are currently working with the Central Regional Planning to do boundary agreements with Hortonia. So it would make sense that if we did this prior to those boundary agreements being finalized, it would make sense. And in tertiary, as a marketing standpoint, they may stand a better chance of selling this property if it's annexed already and they can actually legally declare that water and sewer are available. Because right now they are marketing it that way, but as a parcel in Hortonia, they don't have that legal stature to stand on. So they're listening. What's going to come of it, we'll see what happens. So, but I wanted to inform the village board that all of the members, and I've received calls from 3 of them already today. So,
And this came about with the Badune group contacting Diane, asking about the possibility of it being annexed as residential property. And Diane pretty much shot them down by saying, no, we wanted it as industrial, not residential. But I asked Dave to reach out to him because I don't think this will ever be industrial. So told him if they want to annex, we are willing to listen to them.
So that's why we never heard about this before, because she shot them down?
Yes.
Makes more sense as a residential area than it does industrial.
Well, I guess being right next door to industrial, it made sense as an industrial.
Well,
But
is it not across the street?
The Clegg, no, this is right next to it.
Oh, next to it, okay.
Because Jeannie's son is
Lives right next
part
to
of
it.
that, yeah.
Okay.
And
Fab and,
that the Cleggs don't want it industrial. They wouldn't sell it to us for industrial. So it makes sense reach out to them.
Right.
If they want it residential and can sell it that way, we're willing to listen to them
Totally
as
agree.
annexation.
Yep.
But it's their decision, we're not going to do it unless they approach us to.
Basically, the premise that I took with the family is that with all the moving parts with Hortonville right now, it just might be really advantageous to get in front of everything that's developing right now. It's not a means of us grabbing land from Hortonville, it's the right thing to do, and potentially could aid in the selling of your property. It's a marketing piece. So with that being said, we'll stay in that area. Like I said, I met with Bob Lukey today. We had about an hour discussion. We talked about the fire department, highway TT, the jurisdiction, and then budgeting. He had his concerns, and nothing worth mentioning. It's more projects that him and I are going to be kind of working together on. Part of it was in depth with the fire department, so there's some things that I have to educate myself better on that procedure. That's something I'm not really familiar with yet, and what it all entails, but I have some concerns, and I think that's future meetings will help me get a better grasp of it. This one also reverts to land divisions. Met with Richard Kinnison last week. He is also re-engaging his subdivision. I did the background on it, the background search on it, and found out that it dated to 2002, and that he's had an extension on his developer's agreement in 2008. He wants to sell it. So working with Carl, working with the DNR, working with Dable Engineering, I took the initiative and I put all three parts together. I did the background work on it, the premise, and how Mr. Kinnison is now going to be on vacation for 3 weeks. But when he returns, essentially we have, I would say probably within 75% accuracy, we already have our answer from the DNR on what he needs to move forward with it. We know he's going to need engineering. So we are in a position where we're going to re-engage Mr. Kinnison, speak of the engineering that's needed, speak of the DNR work that's needed, and then give him a timeline, hopefully by January 1 of 19. With your approval, we would extend him what I would call his final extension on his developer's agreement. That would allow him to potentially sell and market this, but it would also protect the village and give us a firm timetable. If he doesn't sell that, he would be responsible for finishing what he basically started in 2002.
Where is this one again? Where's this one?
It's off on Lincoln Street and Cordy Lane.
So it's West Wind apartment buildings,
Oh, okay.
just to the west of that, up on the top hill. How do you pronounce it? Jacob Street? Jacob, you guys have all these names. Baki. Oh. What about north or Grand or
So
something?
we got Oak and Oak,
Yeah.
two different spellings.
Sounds the same thing. So moving forward with that, I also talked about on this one too. So with Carl and the Dollar General project moving forward, the sign, the monument sign came back into discussion. So it was my intention to deliver it today. It's still laying on my desk. I printed off the original agreement in regards to the sign. I have the detailed billing, and I put together a letter basically asking them to come to terms with this so we can move on. And then upon them paying I believe it was just short of $12,000, that we would move forward with an agreement with them that they would then have control of the sign and then be able to use the rest of the remaining balance of the 60% of the sign that's available to potentially advertise for the tenants in the new strip center as well. So a little bit of housekeeping this week I've been doing. I don't know if you want to add anything on that with your electrical program you got going over there?
We had originally installed an electrical pedestal right in the center of that property that's being constructed on right now. Fortunately, it's in the wrong spot, but we're having it moved. And then once we get it moved over towards the monument sign, we're probably going to, if we can get Gilbert's to pay for their sign, and we're probably going to release it, ownership over to them, and let them have the electric bill. It goes to that sign anyway, so again, we're trying to work with Jeff and Mom, Tammy, and just tried to get them to assume ownership of all that, the sign, the electrical and everything, and wash our hands of it. It was fine while we're developing the property, but it's time to hold them to the agreement and wash our hands of all that stuff.
Last bullet point on the front page, we also started, Bob and I talked about this today, so we're more housekeeping. We're back to Wildwood Park, something that started in 2016 with the disposition of the park and the acreage in between the 10 properties. So I pulled all of that. Bob is working on some of the legalities behind it, but again, something that stalled out in 2016, and we're going to look forward to moving forward on. Carl said they spend approximately 2 hours a week during the summer cutting and maintaining the property. Again, it would be in the best interest to dissolve the property and do away with the maintenance costs, and then get the almost 3 acres, huh?
Yeah.
Get that on a tax roll. It's not going to generate a substantial amount of money, but it's going to help defray what we spend in operating costs.
You know, we've been mowing that for the last 30, 40 years, and it's not really good for anybody. It doesn't fit within our park comprehensive plan. In fact, it was recommended that we dissolve it from our ownership, so just turn it over to those people up there. Those people up there paid for that land in the beginning, so as long as they pay the attorney fees and the CSM fees, and then they can have it at whatever that cost is.
I have extensive files on this. It looks like everything was done but the signatures, so I think we just need to re-engage this. I think we need to do it properly, get all the people back into the room again, have basically an update forum with the people and move forward with it. So if that's to your pleasure. And then finally, the firehouse sub-grant application was not completed. It was due today, and I had no correspondence from the fire department. I didn't ask for detailed information. I just asked for the background information from the fire department to pen the grant, and I have not received anything from them, so I unfortunately did not.
That's not unusual.
So,
What was the potential amount on that grant?
It varied.
Varies.
Obviously, they're not gonna extend $148,000, but what they essentially would ask for is like a 10%. So potentially could have been a $14,800 return. A lot of it is based on needs. You know, from my understanding, it's the story you write is how, you know, I probably was gonna put some water or tier marks on the paper, and I just, moving forward, like I said, I have more work to do with the fire department, because it's like I don't have a contact there yet. I've met the chief, but it's lacking.
Okay. That's sad.
And that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for Dave? Hearing none, we'll move on to clerk treasurer.
We have been busy issuing absentee ballots. We've issued 101 in person, total of 178. Nathan's been busy. That's about all I
And
have right now.
kudos to those two, because they've handled it, and it's a well-oiled machine in the office setting. So both of you guys, kudos to you.
Any questions or comments for Jane? Hearing none, we move on to Director of Public Works.
I just got a couple. We should be getting a $3,000 check from Bay Lakes Regional Planning Commission, again for the trees at Alonzo Park. The DNR was in here yesterday, did their final inspection on that grant process. Again, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but along Alonzo Park and all those beautiful trees we got there now, Ben's Nursery also planted some trees for us at a ridiculously low price, so kudos to Bruce. I don't know if anybody knows Bruce, but he's a good guy. Basically, he sold us those trees below cost, so. Plus, with the DNR grant, we made a lot of progress over there. I know it was a mess for a while, but I had passed around a proposal from the company that's doing the equipment repair down at Well 2. That's in Alonzo Park. We didn't think, when I told you about the contract, I didn't think at the time that we needed to do a well rehabilitation. But after televising it and seeing what's in there and the condition of the water column, it needs it. Something fierce. It's in pretty bad shape. There's a lot of scaling, there's a lot of manganese, there's a lot of biofilm. It needs to be professionally cleaned, and I wanted, even though it's not on the agenda for tonight, I'm going to go ahead and authorize them to start the process for doing it, and then I'll get formal authorization at the next board meeting. But I'm going to recommend the full-blown rehab. Again, DNR Madison has to authorize that after they review it. But at the end of the day, I know it's a lot of money, but the utility, since we didn't do any projects this year, it's actually a great year to address these wells. Well, one, I think at the end of the day, by the time everything was said and done, came in about 28 grand. We had 18 grand we were expecting to spend here without any rehab, but it's going to be another 16. So we're going to be right around 34,000. That's what, if I buy the motor. So it's going to be about 2 grand more than well one, but we need to do it. We owe it to the people. They pay high rates and they deserve good quality water, so I'm recommending we do that. So I'm going to authorize the chain of events to start tomorrow with the submittals to the DNR, and then I'll get formal approval after the fact.
How many wells do we have?
We have 2 for now.
Okay. So we just upgraded well number 1?
Yeah. It's probably something you do every 10 to 12 years, and it's been about 10 or 12 for well.
Okay.
And I'm looking at 2 years down the line, redoing the well house at well 1, or well 2. That's just an exterior structure. It's not gonna affect the work we're doing now.
So how does this manganese and all these other elements affect the distribution system in our water pipes in our homes?
Manganese is an aesthetic substance. It causes the black in the back of your toilets.
Right.
It makes your water look a little cloudy, stains your whites brown, same as the iron. The biofilm is a whole different animal.
That's a nasty one.
Yeah, I mean, it won't kill you, but, well, I didn't say it won't kill you, but it has a tendency to pull the molecules out of the water, out of the pipes.
Out of the metals?
Either the copper, it'll all take your copper pipe. The same issue I was concerned about with the dead ends and stuff over in Michael Ricker and Parker Heights. That's the same kind of issue that happened at the bottom of the well. Because the water has a tendency to come in throughout the entire column.
Right.
Sometimes it gets a little dead at the bottom, and after 10 years, you get quite a buildup of
So it settles.
So, to address the same way we want to address the issue of Parker Heights, we want to address the issue with the well. We don't have lead pipes in Hortonville, fortunately, but we do have copper, and stuff like that can cause your copper levels to spike, which can in turn cause enforcement action from the DNR. So we need to do it regardless. I think we owe it to the people, and they pay high enough rates. So we've got the money. Like I said, I didn't do any projects this year. They got pushed off. So we might as well take care of it. It's a perfect timing, actually. So we're in good shape as a village.
Okay.
That's all I have, unless there's something else you got.
Any questions or comments for Carl? Hearing none, we'll go on to the police department.
It's a lot. Just going through doing the inventory of the police department, checking out things that we have and don't have and things that we need. Trying to keep the officers safe and working on policy and procedures. So hopefully this whole winter throughout the winter I can touch each one of those policies and see if there's other ones that we need. Apply for some of the different grants with the Narcan. I met with the Hortonville first responders last week, Wednesday. I was invited to their meeting. So gladly took that, and we met for about an hour and a half just kind of talking about potential trainings that we want to do together, the active shooter trainings and things like that. I'm thinking of hiring on, his name is Matt Ninham. He's an instructor at NWTC. He carries 36 different certifications. So he does like the EVOC. Each year we have to have an EVOC training and certification. We won't have to go out of house to do that. Right now, anybody who doesn't have an EVOC instructor with their department either has to hop on with another department, or you can go to Fox Valley Tech and they'll charge you anywhere from $50 to $150 per person for the training. We have Officer Ninham, he doesn't charge us anything for the training. He's worked for me for 1.5 years over in Cheyenne, and I never submitted for payroll at all. He does a lot of neat things. He was a community resource officer with Oneida PD. That's where he came from. I think he was there for 26 years, I'm gonna say. But, so he did story time with Matt at the library, would bring in a book, like the Velveteen Rabbit. Each child left with a book, and then he had a stuffed animal and any leftover books he would leave at the library, and donated that. We would do fleece blanket tying, we did board games with the officers. He's just got a lot of neat ideas, and that's where I got my ideas for the community and stuff like that. So he'd be a huge asset. He's no cost to the village to have, and he's actually a savings to the village having him.
So when you talk about hiring, you're talking about contracting him, or are you talking about bringing him on?
Bring him on with our department. So anytime.
Gotta say full-time?
No, part-time.
Part-time.
Yep,
I think we discussed this before, but you have a slot open for that?
yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions for Chris? You have nothing else? Then we will move on to library director.
I only have a couple things. We had 26 new people sign up for cards in October, so we're consistently showing great usage. There was an article in the Press Star mid-October that was really wonderfully written, explaining that our usage is just going up consistently, which actually from this time last year, we're up 4,000 circulations, which is amazing. We have an employment opportunity posted at the moment as well, to fill the gap that we have in our staffing. The applications are open from the 2nd to the 29th of November. And that's all I've got.
So when you talk about 4,000, that's total circulation?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that any increase
Well,
above and
there's
beyond
an
last
increase
year?
of 4,000 from that time last year.
Wow.
Yeah, and circulation is a key number that's used to
Gauge, yeah.
county aid.
Right.
So you
So
want
what's
to
your
go
total
up. Oh, I think we're at about 9 to 10,000 so far
So
this year.
you just about doubled then?
Well, I guess for the full year, I think we usually have about 12,000 or more circs. So if we're at 9, 10,000 already, and we still have 2 months left,
Right.
we're doing pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
More money for the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. More county aid.
More money.
Any other questions or comments for Ally? Hearing none, we'll move on to attorney.
Nothing.
Building permit reports, is not in my packet tonight. Communication and miscellaneous business. We will be scheduling a meeting for the last week of November. I believe it'll be that Wednesday. Haven't heard back from members yet. That's all we have. Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District. Kelly's not here, and I don't know if we have anything else. So Gold Cross Ambulance report's not in there. Hortonville Civic.
No, nothing at this time.
Do we have anything for senior activities?
Well, we had our senior outing fest, and it was a success. The guys had the room set up. Jane had directed them, Jane and Nathan, as to how it should go. And we thought we would take a picture this year about how it was set up, because we couldn't remember last year, but it ended up working out well. We had about 50-some people, counting the vendors. The veteran service officer spoke. I think it was a success. We had 10 walk-ins, so just made it with the food. Chris did an awesome job welcoming everybody. And we had good feedback from the vendors, saying that they enjoyed the setup, the time, and everything worked out well, I think. So I think it was, Jeannie was there.
It was very nice.
Good.
A lot of people commented how well ran it was, and it was definitely an increase in people.
Yeah.
So hopefully every year it goes up.
Good.
So,
And thank you for those of you that stopped in too.
Pat, can I say something as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
The library has been partnering with the Senior Services Committee. We have started our reach out over at Pinewood for some of the community members that can't physically get to the library to start that. So we're still in the first month trial period, but that's been going really well as well.
Oh, I should mention too, the meal site, there aren't many people going to the congregate meals, so what we're thinking about doing for December is having the traditional holiday meal at the meal site. And then the committee would pay for instead of paying a caterer, we would pay the meal site just to get people acclimated to going to the Opera House and then have activities there. But we're waiting to hear if that's a possibility with the nutrition site first, just so people get used to going to the Opera, see if we can get more people utilizing that. So keep you posted on that.
Any questions or comments for Pat? Hearing none, we'll go comments and suggestions from citizens. Don't we have anybody? And we have motion to go into closed session under state statutes 19.851C.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session under state statute section 19.851C.
I'll second that.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we need a motion to act on the discussion in closed session. Whether
I'll make,
boards,
do you want to outline the exact agreement, or do we just make a general motion to accept?
I think it just made a motion to revise the police chief's health insurance to match that of other employees, which currently is 88%, correct?
To remove her off of the total compensation.
And to remove the monthly stipend for the buyout. That does it, Dave, doesn't it?
Correct, yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Because her wage would be at the discretion of the wage resolution coming later in the year. So it wouldn't have to do with her wage, it's basically to do with her benefits.
I'll second that.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Well, we only have one thing left on the agenda.
I'll make
Yes.
a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.